The Sachs Foundation. From the book, There is No Such Thing as a Typical Librarian, by Steve Antonuccio. In 2005, Leah Davis Witherow, a local historian who worked for the Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum, called me. She told me she had found an old 16mm film in her collection, and she had no idea what was on it. The original label read, 1928 Negro Picnic. Whenever I found a new historic film, it was like Christmas morning. In this case, this mystery Negro picnic film became a detective story for me. Over the years, I had discovered many mystery films. When Jim Bates donated his Alexander film collection to the library, we had no idea what was on the 100 or so reels of film until we transferred them to digital video. In the case of the film I received from Leah, it was an easy job to find out what was on it. Over the years, the Alexander Film Company, which was still in business as a film-to-DVD transfer company, worked at a reduced rate with us on transferring our film material. They kept a digital master of what we transferred. At that time, Andy and Regina Hutchinson owned the company, and they celebrated the company's history and loved having copies of these earlier films for their collection. They were happy to transfer the film. When I reviewed it, I did not instantly realize the treasure we had. The film showed what looked like a wealthy white man with a black chauffeur, driving around to various African Americans' home. It showed a picnic with African American women and children celebrating a nondescript holiday at the original Stratton Park. They were all well-dressed in their Sunday-best clothing, and both white and black people mingled at this picnic. I showed the film to Leah, and she identified the white man as Henry Sachs. I had been in Colorado Springs for over 20 years at that time, and I had never heard of Henry Sachs. It turned out his charity and foundation were still operating in Colorado Springs as the Sachs Foundation. The foundation provided academic-based scholarships for African American college students who lived in Colorado and who had a high school GPA over 3.5. In 1932, Henry Sachs created the foundation when he was 60 years old. The mystery was about the motivation behind this wealthy Jewish man's reason to create a scholarship exclusively for African Americans. I contacted the Sachs Foundation, and the staff provided me with more information. In fact, some of the older board members actually had known Henry Sachs, who died in 1952 at the age of 90. Henry was born in 1862 and made his fortune in Boston, where he helped finance the Gillette Safety Razor Company. In 1902, he contracted tuberculosis and moved to Colorado Springs, as many tuberculosis patients did at that time, to recover his health. Because of the dry climate and mountain air, Colorado Springs was known as an excellent place to recover from the illness. His African-American chauffeur James Jeffries and his maid Gertrude Lee dedicated their efforts to help him regain his health. He was so grateful for his two African-American employees and close friends that he decided to leave his fortune in a foundation to help African Americans acquire college scholarships. The film we found was of an integrated picnic that included local African American children and the local Jewish Women's League. At the time that Henry Sachs created the foundation, the Klan was running the state of Colorado. Even the Colorado governor was rumored to be a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Because he was Jewish, Henry was not allowed to stay at some of the luxury hotels in Colorado Springs. He knew things needed to change, and he felt the best use of his money was to help African Americans earn college degrees and become professionals and business people who could eventually create their own wealth. The Sachs Foundation has helped over 5,000 students achieve college educations, and they have awarded close to $20 million in scholarships. I produced a short documentary on Henry Sachs, which is available on YouTube. In addition to my documentary, Jane and Bob Neff, both retired teachers and volunteers for the library, produced a more comprehensive 30-minute documentary on Henry Sachs. Thousands of people moved to Colorado Springs to take the cure for tuberculosis in the early 20th century, including the philanthropist Henry Sachs. In 1900, over 160,000 people died of tuberculosis in the United States, and that number declined to an annual death rate of 60,000 by 1941. The cure for tuberculosis, before the discovery of antibiotics in the early 1940s, was spending a couple of years in a dry climate with lots of sunshine. This made Colorado Springs an ideal place to take the cure. Several sanatoriums were built in Colorado Springs in the southwestern United States, including the Woodmen of America Sanatorium in 1909. In 1930, a documentary on the Woodmen of American Sanatorium was produced by the Alexander Film Company and called Land of Sunshine. That documentary is available to watch on YouTube on the Pikes Peak Library District YouTube channel.